Sue and I are here to present about the, we just recently wrote a grant for the Buy Local Buy Wisconsin program, and we were awarded. There were 9 projects awarded by the Department of Agriculture here in the state of Wisconsin, and ours was the highest awarded project in the state, so we're really excited. And the focus of our project is the development of a local food cooperative that would source food to our local institutions in a 5-county region: LaCrosse, Monroe, Vernon, Richland, and Crawford counties. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the background of the project. In 2007, we formed the VSN Food and Farm Initiative, and our first project was a community food assessment, which was an 18-month process looking at the challenges and opportunities we have here in our local food system. And one of the opportunities that we saw, we have this wealth of local producers here that produce an amazing array of food. And we have all these local institutions, schools and hospitals, that aren't sourcing food locally for their food service programs. And then around the same time, last year, the Eau Claire Buy Local Consortium was developed and funded by the Buy Local Buy Wisconsin grant. So we thought that's a perfect model that we could use to develop something similar here in our region. So I'll let Sue take it over from there.
Just right, we put a lot of planning into this grant, but we also had a lot of community input to it and a lot of background work that went into it on behalf of the local Food and Farm Initiative, and also VSN put a lot of work into that needs assessment. So we know that what we're doing moving forward is really the right thing to do, and it's really reflective of our region, as all of you know. So we did that background work, and then at about the same time last summer, I started meeting with a group of folks in LaCrosse, including WTC and UWL, and they wanted to find a way to be able to source local food and get it into their cafeterias. So I was talking with Jessica at about the same time, and we're hearing the same thing from the local schools and also from Vernon Memorial and other institutions in the region. There are also a number of hospitals in LaCrosse, including Gunderson Clinic and Franciscan Scamp, Viterbo College, St. Rose Convent. A lot of those institutional cafeterias, again, wanted to buy local food. And how did they make that happen? So we had a couple meetings talking about that, and all of a sudden the Buy Local grant came up, the opportunity came up, and Jessica said, so we have to write for that grant, we have to go for that money. So we got together and presented it to the group in LaCrosse, and they said yes, they would agree to be the institutional market if we could get the local growers to commit to it as well. So we quick put the application together, and I was very pleased, we had 21 letters of support into the grant, and then I had people calling after we submitted to say, darn, I wanted to put a letter into that grant, So anyway, we were awarded in December, as Jessica said, through the Department of Ag's program. But I want to give credit to those local producers who were a part of the initial push to get that submitted, and also those institutions. So you might be thinking about, well, what can we do to help? What can we do to help? If you're a producer and you want to be involved, let us know. If you have access to an institutional market, if you're a buyer, let us know, and we'll get you connected on the other end. And if you're a consumer, let your local schools, let your local hospitals, let your local institutions know that you want to buy local food and you want to see it served in their cafeterias, because you are the ones they're going to listen to. And then we can make it happen, because we're going to create a cooperative, and that's what we're doing at the moment, is having some organizational meetings to get that cooperative established. And we've also hired a coordinator, who is Nicole, who is your MC tonight. Nicole will be the coordinator for the program. She'll make the connections between the local producers and the purchasers, finding out what do you have, what do you want, and then making that come together. And then as we grow the program, then the distribution point will be part of the infrastructure that we're doing in the former NCR building that our organization acquired last summer. So I'm hoping to see a lot of local food going into that building and growing back out through distribution channels. So if you're wondering what's happening in that building, that's a lot of what we're doing on the work on that. So again, just acknowledging the Department of Ag for their support. I know Teresa Coopers was here today, had to leave real quick, but Teresa's been a big supporter of us as well. So we will be sourcing produce, meat, dairy, eggs, cheese, yes. So a ton of local food going to institutional markets. And the biggest thing one of the big things that really excites me about this program, beyond being able to provide a market for local producers and being able to be a part of increasing the income capacity for farmers and producers, if you think long term, if we're going to get into UWL and WTC, into those cafeterias, who eats in those cafeterias? We're talking about students, young people. We're talking really about a paradigm shift, about a cultural shift. If we start putting local food into those cafeterias and we have that age group accessing local food instead of a bag of potato chips or other junk food, if they start to see that this is good food to eat, we really like the way it tastes, we ought to be doing this. That's going to impact the next generation because they're going to start growing their families, having their kids, like Jessica. And so we're going to have more younger people buying local food and good food. So.
Now with one institution that was willing, and that was Sacred Heart Hospital, and they were willing to commit 10% of their annual food budget to purchasing local foods from this cooperative. So when we set out, we said, oh well, I wonder if we can get our institutions to commit 10% of their annual food budget, which for Sacred Heart was the equivalent of about $200,000 every year. And we have 5 institutions on board, and 4 of the 5 have committed a minimum of 10% of their annual food budgets to purchase local food.
I think that's a good point to make. We're not asking these institutions to substitute all of their food buying to local food. We're just saying start with a goal of 10%, and our project runs for 2 years. So by the end of 2 years, that's our goal for those institutions to be purchasing a minimum of 10%, and we think it's entirely doable.
Very doable.
Very doable. So, any questions? All right. And I'd like to give credit also to when we wrote the grant. Actually, the grant is a very small amount. It's $40,000 for 2 years, a total of 2 years. So you can imagine that it's going to fund Nicole at $20,000 a year, just part-time. So that's really all the income that we have. We have to supplement that with income from the institutions and the revenue from the produce exchange and the food exchange. So that's what the cooperative will do, is provide a structure for that. But also I want to give credit then to Organic Valley, because as we were writing the grant, Cecil and Organic Valley set out the challenge. He said, Organic Valley will put $10,000 into that grant as a match, cash match. And he said, I challenged the other institutions to match that as well. And so their answer was, WTC and UWL said, well, we can't put cash into a match because of our bureaucracy and the way they're structured, but we can buy a membership in a cooperative. And so that also led us down the cooperative path. So they've committed to that. They're a part of the steering committee, and in 2 weeks we're going to be meeting with them and start structuring that cooperative. So we're bringing institutions into our cooperative way of doing things as well. So.
We were able to raise about $68,000 though through matching and in-kind funds for the project. And Sonia Noonhouse is here from Madison Environmental Group, and Bob Haugen is here somewhere in the audience, right back here. And they've both contributed a significant portion, as did WTC Western Technical College, to the project. And Bob is actually going to be, he has committed $15,000 in matching services to help us build the software program for this cooperative, which is very huge. So, and he actually designed the software program for the Buy Local Consortium in Eau Claire and the Southeast Minnesota Local Food Network. So it's just really wonderful to have partners like that.